Imagine this. You're a young woman, just 23 years old, standing on the icy shore of a desolate Arctic island. The wind howls, cutting through your thin clothes like a knife. Snow blinds your vision. Polar bears lurk in the distance, their eyes glinting with hunger. You're alone, completely alone, except for a small cat named Vic. Your companions, 4 men who promised adventure and safety, are gone. Some dead, others vanished into the frozen wilderness. You have no survival skills, no experience in this brutal world. Yet, you must survive. For your son, for yourself. This is the story of Ada Blackjack, the Inuit woman who was left to die on Wrangel Island in 1921, but became its only survivor.
Welcome to suspense, mystery, crime, horror, inspiration, survival. Phantomarchived. Subscribe.
Let's step back to September 1921, Nome, Alaska, a rugged gold rush town on the edge of the world. Ada Blackjack, born Ada Blackjack, is a petite Inuit woman, barely 5 feet tall, with dark eyes and a quiet strength. She's not your typical Arctic adventurer. Raised by Methodist missionaries, she knows how to sew, cook white people's food, and read the Bible in English. But hunting, trapping, surviving in the wild, those are skills she never learned. Her life has been hard. At 16, she married Jack Blackjack, a dog musher. Their marriage was a nightmare: abuse, starvation, and loss. 2 of their 3 children died in infancy. Their surviving son, Bennett, now 5, is frail, battling tuberculosis. When Jack abandons them on the Seward Peninsula, Ada walks 40 miles to Nome, carrying Bennett when he can't walk. She's penniless, forced to place her son in an orphanage while she scrapes by as a seamstress. She dreams of earning enough to bring him home, to pay for his treatment. Enter Vilhjalmur Steffensen, a charismatic Canadian explorer with a dangerous vision. He calls the Arctic friendly, a place where anyone with grit can thrive. He's wrong, but his words carry weight. Steffensen wants to claim Wrangel Island, a remote speck in the Arctic Ocean north of Siberia, for Canada or Britain. It's a bold, reckless plan, fueled by ambition and a hunger for glory. He recruits 4 young men: Alan Crawford, a 20-year-old Canadian geographer, Lorne Knight and Fred Maurer, both 28, seasoned Arctic hands, and Milton Galley, a 19-year-old eager for adventure. They're to live on Wrangel for 2 years, proving it can be colonized. Steffensen promises a well-funded expedition with a resupply ship to keep them fed. He also needs Inuit helpers, hunters, guides, and a seamstress. Ada Jack is desperate for the $50 a month salary, an unheard-of sum, signs on expecting other Inupiaq families to join. They don't. When the ship Silver Wave sets sail on September 9, 1921, Ada is the only Alaska native aboard, joined by the expedition's mascot, a kitten named Vic. Would you trust strangers to take you to an unknown land for money? The journey to Wrangel Island is grim. The Arctic Ocean is a frozen wasteland, its waters choked with ice. Ada, shy and uneasy, stands on deck, clutching her coat. She's the only woman, surrounded by 4 strangers and a cat. She was promised others like her, but the Inuit families backed out, wary of Steffensen's grandiose claims. The men, Crawford, Knight, Maurer, and Galley, are confident, even cocky. They raise the Union Jack on Wrangel's rocky shore, claiming it for Britain. Ada watches, her heart heavy. The island is bleak, barren tundra, jagged cliffs, and endless snow. Polar bears roam, their tracks fresh in the ice. She's terrified of them, a fear that gnaws at her. The ship departs, leaving the 5 settlers and Vic to face the Arctic alone. For the first year, things go surprisingly well. The men hunt seals, foxes, and walruses, filling the camp's larder. Ada sews, stitching fur parkas and mittens, her needle flashing in the dim light of their tent. The camp is a patchwork of canvas and driftwood, perched on a windswept plain. The men tease Ada, calling her city Eskimo for her lack of wilderness skills. She keeps to herself, her thoughts on Bennett. She writes in her diary simple entries about sewing, cooking, and the cold. November 23, 1921. Cold today. Sewed a parka for Mr. Knight. The men are busy mapping the island, setting traps, and dreaming of glory. They believe Stefansson's promise. A resupply ship will arrive next summer. They're wrong. Comment below, what's the coldest, harshest place you've ever been? Summer 1922 comes and goes. No ship appears. The Arctic ice is relentless, blocking any approach. The Bolshevik government in Russia, claiming Wrangel as their own, complicates matters. Canada, hesitant to provoke a diplomatic spat, delays funding. Stefansson scrambles for investors, but it's too late. The team's food dwindles. Game, once plentiful, vanishes as winter looms. The men grow tense, their faces gaunt. Ada notices their worry, but keeps sewing, her hands steady. By January 1923, the situation is dire. Lorne Knight falls ill, his gums bleeding, his body weak, scurvy, a brutal disease caused by vitamin C deficiency. The others aren't far behind. The group faces a stark choice: stay and starve, or risk the ice. On January 28, 1923, Crawford, Maurer, and Galley make a desperate decision. They'll cross the frozen Chukchi Sea, 90 miles of treacherous ice, to reach Siberia for help. Knight, too sick to move, stays behind. Ada is left to care for him. She's no nurse, no hunter, but she has no choice. The men promise to return with food and rescue. They pack a sled, say their goodbyes, and vanish into the snow. They're never seen again. Ada, Knight, and Vic are alone, trapped on Wrangel Island with a dwindling pile of supplies and a long winter ahead. What would you have done if you were the only one left on a frozen island? Ada throws herself into keeping Knight alive. She hauls wood, melts snow for water, and cooks what little food remains: moldy flour, rancid seal fat. Knight's condition worsens. His legs swell, his teeth loosen. He's irritable, sometimes cruel, snapping at Ada for her inexperience. She endures, driven by duty and her promise to survive for Bennett. She writes in her diary, "Knight is sick. I try to help." The Arctic is merciless. Temperatures plunge to 50 below zero. Blizzards bury the camp. Polar bears circle, their growls echoing in the dark. Ada's fear is constant, but she pushes it down. Let me know. Should more people know Ada's story? By spring, Knight is dying. Ada learns to set traps, teaching herself through trial and error. She catches a fox, her hands trembling as she skins it. She tries to shoot a seal, her shots wild at first, but she improves. She builds a platform from driftwood to spot polar bears, her heart racing every time she climbs it. Knight, bedridden, offers little guidance. On June 23, 1923, he dies. Ada can't bear to move his body. It's too heavy, too grim. She places his sleeping bag in a tent, barricades it with boxes to keep animals away, and moves to a storage tent. The smell of decay lingers. Now, it's just Ada and Vic. How long do you think you'd last with no heat, no food, and no rescue in sight? Alone, Ada faces the Arctic's full wrath. She's starving, her body frail, her clothes threadbare, but her will is iron. She thinks of Bennett, his small face, his cough. She won't give up. She builds a sturdier camp, reinforcing her tent with driftwood and canvas. She experiments with the men's photography equipment, snapping pictures of the icy landscape to stay sane. She hunts, her aim steadier now, bringing down seagulls and geese. She collects eggs from nests, her fingers numb. She builds a small skin boat, sewing hides together with her seamstress skills. Every task is a battle, every day a victory. Summer 1923 brings hope and despair. Ada scans the horizon for a ship. Nothing. She writes a will, fearing the worst. If anything happened to me and my death is known, there is black strip for Bennett's schoolbook bag for my only son. Her words are simple, raw, a mother's plea. She fights on, trapping foxes, dodging polar bears. Vic, the cat, is her only companion, curling up beside her at night. The Arctic tests her, but she adapts. She sews a reindeer parka, her stitches tight and perfect, a shield against the cold. Could you survive an Arctic winter completely alone, like Ada did? On August 19, 1923, a schooner, the Donaldson, appears. Ada hears it before she sees it. A low hum, not a walrus as she first thinks. She strides out, wrapped in her handmade parka, her face gaunt but proud. Harold Noyce, the ship's captain, is stunned. Ada's camp is orderly, her supplies neatly stacked. She's not just alive, she's mastered the Arctic. Vic purrs at her side. The crew marvels. She could have survived another year. Ada doesn't care for their praise. She wants one thing: to see Bennett.
Could you survive an Arctic winter completely alone like Ada did? The return to Nome is bittersweet. Ada is hailed as a hero, a female Robinson Crusoe. Newspapers clamor for her story, but she refuses to speak. The ordeal is too raw, too personal. She's exploited, her diaries taken, her story twisted by Stefansson and Noyce for profit. She receives only her promised wages, no more. But Ada doesn't falter. She reunites with Bennett, taking him to Seattle for tuberculosis treatment. She remarries, has another son, Billy, and returns to the Arctic, living quietly until her death in 1983, at age 85, buried beside Bennett. Would you keep hope alive, or give up after the first month alone? Ada's story isn't just about survival. It's about a mother's love, a woman's courage, and a refusal to be defined by others' expectations. She wasn't an explorer, not a thrill seeker. She was a seamstress, a survivor, forced into a role she never chose. Stefansson's friendly Arctic was a lie, his expedition a reckless gamble. The men, Crawford, Knight, Maurer, Galley, paid with their lives. Ada paid with her strength, her fear, her heart. Yet, she prevailed. Why do you think no one talks about her in history books? What makes Ada Blackjack extraordinary? She had no training, no preparation, yet she taught herself to hunt, trap, and build in one of the harshest places on Earth. She faced polar bears, starvation, and loneliness, driven by a single goal: to return to her son. Her story challenges us. What would you do, alone in the Arctic, with everything against you? Would you find the strength to keep going? Ada did. She walked out of the ice, head high, with Vic at her side. She's proof that courage isn't loud. It's quiet, steady, and unbreakable. This was just one story out of thousands the world forgot. If you believe these stories deserve to be remembered, subscribe. New true survival tales every week. Until next time, stay curious, stay human. You've been watching Phantom Archived.